welcome to Great Care again. And we are super excited to have our guests back, Dr. Ardis, and many of our clients here at Great Care know Dr. Ardis through the reviews he's actually doing for them specifically. But what I want him to come on and share about is this conference that is coming up very, very soon in the next few weeks. And it's really important to understand this conference is different than a lot of the other conferences out there that I've actually been a part of, and they're great. I love that there's so many different types of conferences, but this one I think is going to be the cherry on top because it's going to get down to some of the actionable things people need. So Dr. Ardis, welcome on the Great Care podcast.
It's so great to be here, Priscilla. I'm very proud of everything you and your team and advocacy team at Great Care are doing. It's been a phenomenal resource for a lot of people around the world who hear our messaging and then know there's something else that can be done in a better way to benefit them in their health and navigate the hospital systems. It has been a great honor to have you guys help us assist so many people around the world, even internationally now. That's got to be fun to have patients in hospitals all around the world. It's phenomenal. Calling you.
Well, this last week, we got a call from Australia. We're helping somebody in a hospital, and actually she's being discharged today. The advocate has spent great time with the parents and the young teenager. It's a teenager that's very, very sick with lung issues, even combating the issue of needing a lung transplant. But the system in Australia was denying that transplant option because they wanted to give more COVID vaccinations. Is that not crazy? It's insane to me. So that's happening. And then one more thing about overseas. We got our first call in the last week from Israel. So I'm not really for sure how we haven't done any marketing over globally, but people are hearing about us, and also through your platform, through what you're speaking for. So I'm really thankful that you're able to share about Great Care and what we're doing. But the Healing for the Ages, it's coming up like beginning of October, right?
The beginning of September. So September.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Go back. September.
Yep. So you're about 4 weeks from when we're going to be hosting our own conference here in Dallas, Texas. It will be streamed virtually worldwide, which is going to be very phenomenal. And we already have about, I think, 33 different media outlets that are going to be streaming it worldwide for us, which is phenomenal. So that'll be exciting. And then you mentioned it was going to be different. I have actually spoken at a different conference every week, just about for the last 4 years. So in the experience of being on stages, doing media interviews, interacting with the crowds, there's one thing I always felt sad about when they would leave. So you'd have these big conferences, lots of exciting speakers, tons of information. And what do you see out in the crowd? Anytime there's new information, you see them trying to gather their cell phones to take pictures of screenshots of what's on the presentations that they can take home and reference possibly. I have been participating as a student in conferences for 20 years. I've always been fascinating with wanting to know, what does other people know? What have they studied that I can apply to my patients? So every weekend, almost for my entire career, I was somewhere every month attending a conference, learning about different aspects of health and healing. So in each of those conferences, though, I was giving booklets of all the information being presented so I could go home and reference that stuff on behalf of my family, myself, and my patients. And that's exactly what we're going to do here for Healing for the Ages. First things, anybody go to healingfortheages.com. You can actually go ahead and buy tickets now, virtually or in-person attendees. We're actually going to try to cap how many people we allow in the seats, which is only 400 people. And we're expecting tens of thousands of people worldwide to participate. Hopefully we even reach more than that. But every single individual, whether in attendance physically or virtual, you're going to have all of the presentations emailed to you virtually, and you're going to have the PDFs of all the documents of everything that we are educating you on. The very first night, which is Thursday, September 7th, anybody who registers, you can register for free to participate in a masterclass Q&A session with me, Dr. Henry Ely, Dr. Jana Schmidt, Dr. Ed Group, and Jonathan Otto is going to be moderating the Q&A live.
Wow.
We're going to be able to participate that for free. That's the night before the actual conference on the 8th and 9th. We expect a lot of people participating in that, which will be very exciting. Remember, this is a live Q&A, so you can participate in this also. And then the very next day is when the actual conference starts with our presentations. The first day of the conference, Remember, you get all this information. In fact, as we come up on the stage and do our presentation, for all people who are attending, you are going to have sent to you as we come off the stage the entire presentation. So you don't have to. I'm not kidding. Every single presentation is going to be emailed out to everybody who's there.
Wow.
Sitting here live, virtually, you're going to have it. You're going to have every graphic, every solution, every protocol, every document, every research study. You're going to have it and be able to it's going to be sent to you by email. You can download it, save it, reference it back in the future. You don't have to worry about trying to capture all the information while you're sitting there. You can participate, learn, and come up with questions on your own, take notes. Everybody will be given a notebook, by the way, branded for the Healing for the Ages. So you can write down any questions. And then in between every presentation, we are going to, all four of us presenters, get up on stage and make sure all questions are answered before we go to the next presentation, which is going to be phenomenal. And you will be able to do live Q&As for the virtual attendees. How cool is that? So anything that's gaps for individuals and their understanding or knowledge, we're going to be giving that to you. The first day is going to be the foundational aspect. So one thing was very different about you, me, Priscilla, Dr. Henry Ely, Dr. Ed Group, Dr. Janice Schmidt, and the other special guests. We're inviting a ton of medical doctors to come here. And I have to tell you, there are multiple medical doctors who already had other conferences they were attending and going to be speaking at, like Dr. Judy Mikovits, like Dr. Deb Biglione, and others, Dr. Peter McCullough. They've all dropped those other engagements because they've actually voiced to me, nothing is more important than this conference. So they are coming to actually, as special guests, we're inviting them to come. And then we have 3 VIP events for them to sit with our VIP attendees and do education for those people in person. It's going to be very exciting. But one of these doctors actually said, I'm canceling my participation in another conference to come to yours because I believe it's the #1 most important conference to save America. This is not a joke, like our physical lives in America. So they are coming. That'll be very exciting.
That is phenomenal.
Silk of Diamond and Silk is going to come. She's already told me, she's already got her trip planned. She's going to come there and be there in person. And she hasn't traveled in 3 years outside of memorials and things she had to do for her sister. But we're very excited to have them, and her family are going to be here, which is going to be awesome. Her husband's coming. It's going to be very cool. We're very excited.
I love Silk. I love their family. And I think this is going to be an amazing event. I've gotten messages back from our clients and our team that's like, I can't make it in person, but I signed up online, and they're using the Graith Care code, the promo code GRAITH, GRAITH. So people can get a little bit of a discount on that, and they
get 10% off of the virtual tickets. Yep. So use GRAITH, GRAITH, when you go to checkout, and it's 10% off of the $99 virtual ticket for the whole conference. So you're not going to be able to beat this. This is going to be phenomenal. We're very excited about this opportunity. So please, everybody, take advantages. First day is foundational. If I can review this real quick. The reason why we are inviting all these special guests to come to learn from us is we weren't scared or afraid or anxious or panicking throughout the entire pandemic. We never fell for that narrative. There's a reason why these 4 individuals, the 4 of us that are speaking, it's very specific why I invited them. None of us ever needed a prescription for anything in COVID. That was just us. We knew we could beat everything naturally, and we took care of our family without medications. We didn't have to go get a prescription at a pharmacy. We were fine. But we weren't scared at all the whole time. We never had to get a vaccine. What we want to do, and what's important and been pounding on my mind and spirit and heart for the last 4 years, is how can I get the majority of the audiences who have now put faith in these individuals they may not have known before, like myself, before the pandemic started. They are going to be relentless in creating multiple crises health-wise in the future. This was really just a 3.5-year experiment. They wanted to see how all of us were going to react and who was going to push back and how many people were going to. Well, there was a bunch more than I think they anticipated, which is fine, but they knew this was just an experiment. So they're going to be coming out in the future with smallpox virus pandemics, Marburg virus pandemics, more SARS-CoV-3 virus pandemics. They're going to do it until they get their agenda achieved, which is getting an injection of a vaccine experimental in everybody's arm in the entire planet. And they're going to do that through fear. So the reason why we were never afraid is simply because of the knowledge and education we have and have had for decades. The 4 of us speaking, AGES, Healing for the Ages, stands for Ardis, Group, Ely, and Schmidt. These 4 doctors, 2 naturopathic doctors, 2 chiropractors, the whole reason why I invited them was they have over a combined, the 4 of us, 100 years of clinical practice in natural healing without medications. And the reason why we're not afraid and don't feel like we need to go use those, surely you could in emergency situations. This wasn't an emergency. It was strictly fear, panic being propagandized to the whole world. Well, we're going to give you on day one, we're going to actually be educating you how God designed the human body. What are the systems of the body? And it's going to be on a lay level. You're going to have graphics. Oh, this is how the body's designed. This is how when you eat food, how it gets processed in the body, which organs it goes into, how it gets into the bloodstream. It's going to be a very simple 3rd grade, 8th grade level education here. But as long as you have that and you have the understanding of how the body works and why symptoms occur along the way, the symptoms tell you actually what to do. And we're going to be educating on that. We're going to be teaching you these symptoms mean this. These symptoms mean this. This symptom represents this. This is how the body detoxes. This is how you do parasite testing. This is how you read a blood test. This is not a joke. How you read a blood test. How you actually balance your pH. How you read labels on processed foods. How you balance the pH of the body to keep you healthy. These are the basics. We're going to be teaching you it in day 1, which is September 8th, healingfortheages.com. Day 2 is the big dog. Day 2 is we're actually going to be the 4 of us laying out, as we have all been researching and putting together the narrative of COVID to keep you warned and inspired and provide hope, which is all I've done this whole time and tried to do. I'm not an alarmist. It has been, they're being the alarmist. Let me tell you what you really need to know and stay home. You don't need to be worried. The fear and the alarm is if you go inside the ICU at a hospital during COVID, that's where the alarm is. So don't go there. Stay home. We'll educate you how to do it and take care of life. And that's what you and advocates like you have done for us phenomenally for the last several years. Day 2 is this. We're going to actually be explaining to you how they actually created these biological weapons. They've actually created these venom-based spike proteins since 72 years ago. We actually are going to show you who created them, how they created them, and how they're using venom genetics, proteins from venoms, to actually make you sick and call it viruses. And we know that the actual researchers who created it. Now, this is important for all of you. You guys don't know. Even the medical doctors don't know who are going to be coming here. This is why we're excited to invite them, so they now know what to do. There are what are called circular DNA particles called plasmids. And these are engineered by geneticists all over the world since 72 years ago. So they take this DNA strand of amino acids and genetic material, and they infuse inside of it any toxin or poison they want, including venoms. Every venom spike protein of COVID is in these plasmids. These plasmids, these genetic materials, can be spread in the air, water, food, injected into you or into your food. Plasmids were put in the COVID-19 shots, and we're going to show you. Priscilla, the first company that was actually contracted to put plasmids, genetic material with venom protein encoded in it, was for the AstraZeneca shot. The AstraZeneca shot, the contract went to a company called Cobra Biologics.
What
Cobra
a name.
Biologics, right? So they infused that in there, and this is what they did. They injected the COVID-19 vaccines inside of you with these plasmids. These plasmids carry the actual venom code inside of it, the venom protein. When it gets inside your body, these plasmids work their way through what's called conjugation, attachment, and insertion into your cells, and also into bacteria and yeast that live inside of your bowels, your microbiome of your gut. And then your gut, when these plasmids insert themselves, and check this out, Priscilla, they actually put in the research when they explain how plasmids insert themselves into other organisms or mammal cells, they say the insertion is snake-like. It like inserts and like a snake inserts its genetic code inside your cells. And then it is manufacturing venom.
So here's the thing about getting to know you, right? You're not an alarmist. You research, you're finding the information. You're just not talking about it, which to me is really important when you're talking in the medical industry, right? A lot of people think it's just, we're just talking and getting people's emotions up and doing some kind of cute branding name or something like that. And the goal here, what you guys are going to be doing and breaking down at the Healing for Ages is really that foundational. I love the foundation of what you're going to create. I love the Q&A. You hear the dog here bark, and he's excited too. So it's really, really cool to kind of hear how this is coming together. But you're actually giving real information to people. You're just not talking about it, right?
Oh, yeah, yep. We're going to show you how they're doing it, what we know about how they created these. We're actually going to show you the plasmids from the geneticist research with the encoding of the venoms. We're going to show you. And then we're going to show you that they published since 72 years ago, all along this way for the last 70 years, they publish in every research study what natural resources on the planet from nature stop plasmids from being able to get inserted into bacteria, yeast, and your cells.
So are these plasmids, okay, so just a question here. We've got these conversations out there about biolabs, right, overseas, and it does look like there has these same biolabs here in the United States too. Is that something that you're seeing and hearing too? Because I'm concerned if we have these biolabs still present, we need to get rid of them. There is no good use for some of these things that are causing harm to humanity. So is that something you're hearing, or is this just something that's, sprucing up more fear? Do you have any opinion on that?
Yeah, so biological weapons labs, obviously those need to be shut down. And yes, they're all over the world. But these biological weapons they're using, biological weapons, by the way, just think about the term. It means these are weapons from nature. Historically, venoms human beings have used in antiquity, venoms have been the number one used for our entire history biological weapon. Venoms come from natural resources, animals on the planet, and we have used them to be weapons for years and years and years and years. So, and I just want to make this clear. The individuals who created the plasmid 72 years ago, they're all Americans. They're not outside of this country. They created them here. And Dr. Stanley Cohen is one of them. He's one of them that actually created these. Stanley Cohen, 1956. This guy actually took chicken embryos, and as they were developing in the chicken egg, he would inject venom inside the egg or near the body of the developing embryo, and they wanted to see what it would do. What does the venom do just when it's sitting next to the developing chicken embryo? And in 1956, he published two things occurred immediately within hours. The chicken embryo's brain and spinal cord will develop cancerous tumors within 72 hours when exposed to venom from a snake.
Just next to it? Just next to it.
Just sitting next to it. And they called it, because he couldn't see it going into the chicken, they called it an invisible factor they named nerve growth factor. So in the presence of venom, neurological tissue will develop more rapid proliferation, faster growth of neuron cells, and it will just continue to grow into a mass called a brain tumor. In fact, he actually proved you could create a glioblastoma brain tumor in less than 72 hours when you inject a mammal with venom in the 1960s. So they know how to do this in 72 hours left, create glioblastomas. And Priscilla, post-COVID-19 vaccines, haven't you heard about turbo cancers like glioblastoma in the brains of teenagers now, dying in 2 to 3 weeks versus what used to happen, which was if someone was diagnosed with these brain tumors, they might live another 3 to 4 months. It has been an accelerated rate. Well, they're injecting people with these plasmids and these venom-coated proteins, and then they're inserting with Johnson & Johnson, AstraZeneca, Novavax, billions of venomous spike proteins. This is why you're seeing this occur. Do you know that Stanley Cohen, who actually figured this out in 1956, 72 years ago, he's the one that came up with the plasmids concept. He's one of the 4 scientists who decided to create plasmids with venom in them and tell bacteria, yeast, and mammal cells to manufacture their own venom. He won a Nobel Prize in 1986 for figuring out venoms causes cancerous growth in any organ in the human body. Can you believe that? 10 years prior.
It's disgusting. It is like they created something that has caused real harm and death to people. I mean, there's to me, there's no good sense. I mean, when I think about venom, a snake, I run from the snake. Like, I'm out of there.
God wired you to run away.
Right, like, I'm out. I'm sorry. I don't even do good with insects, let alone snakes. So I don't see what good him creating this does. And why would you get a Nobel Peace Prize? I mean, this doesn't even, so there.
Yes, it does. It makes total sick. It actually makes total sense, actually. So the Nobel Prize is a society that actually awards people for new discoveries. Do you know what this discovery benefited the most? What industry would benefit the most from someone figuring out that they can take something in nature, expose human beings to it in various ways, topically injected, swallowed, and it will create cancerous tumor growths? Who benefits from that?
Well, of course, the healthcare system does, the pharmaceutical, the insurance companies. I mean,
Hell
I
yeah, it
definitely,
does.
yeah,
That's the
yeah.
whole reason. So the American Cancer Society, they benefit every single, the Susan G. Komen Foundation, which is now owned by Pfizer, they benefit from it for breast cancer. This guy, Stanley Cohen, actually termed the phrase nerve growth factor and epidermal growth factor. Every organ in your body and your entire body is covered with epidermal tissue, which is skin. The outside layers of all your organs is epidermal. That's what they call the outside layer of your skin for all your organs in your body. All venoms have this invisible factor causing tumors in the nervous system and tumors in your epidermal skin layers, all in your organs, all in your body. So cervical cancer, ovarian cancer, prostate cancer, kidney cancer, brain cancer, all of these are published side effects of venoms in the human body. And now what do they sell you? Radiation, chemotherapy, immune
Or
suppressant drugs.
toxins.
Yeah,
Toxins
it's a
and
massive industry.
yeah, wow.
So let me
So
just do a real quick summary for the event for day two, just so
yeah.
y'all know. This is what's going to happen. We're going to educate everybody on plasmids and then
Okay.
what the natural substances are. There's like 12, what they publish, plasmid curing compounds. And they're from nature, all of them. And I'll just give you a real quick hint. One of them is quercetin, which is amazing. All right, so they published that. This is why it helped people, by the way, with COVID. All right, so quercetin is one of those. We're going to present all 12 or however many we compile before then. We're going to teach you and educate you what all the natural plant resources are, mineral plants are, to actually help stop plasmids from binding to your cells to insert snake-like gene instructions to your cells to make their poison. Then we're going to actually educate you that they are using E. coli bacteria and yeast systems to manufacture all these venoms with the plasmids. They call it biological and genetic engineering, instructing other cells of us, E. coli bacteria, and yeast to manufacture something they don't typically do. That's why they call it genetic engineering. We're going to engineer them to become biological weapon manufacturing factories in your body. So we're going to educate you how you can test yourself to see, do you have E. coli and yeast continuing to create problems for you? If you do, we're going to teach you how to eliminate those all naturally and how to test for them. And then we're going to teach you if you have the venoms and plasmids injected inside of you. And if you do have long hauler COVID symptoms right now, it's all explained by the plasmids, E. coli, yeast, and the venoms in your body that are being manufactured by these things. Then we're going to teach you all the natural substances that both release the venoms, break apart the venoms, and then actually help you chelate them out of the body. And we're going to lay that whole thing out on day two. And the reason why this is so important, Priscilla and Great Care audiences, these plasmids and the ability to create plasmids to tell other substances in nature to manufacture biological weapons internally and in the environment. They have been spending billions of dollars for 72 years. This ain't going away. They are going to continue to be utilizing this technology, and every single pandemic going forward, they're going to use the same scare tactics and the same method of spreading it. So if we can just show you how to combat it as these globalists and crazy psychotic psychopaths continue to create illness and death and carnage to support their medical complex industry, we're going to show you how we at home, the four of us, how we kept all of our families safe. Even when we had symptoms develop, we figured out natural substances the entire time to negate all of them. And one of the most powerful antidotes to all of long hauler COVID symptoms is actually found in vegetables and in a plant called the tobacco plant.
Wow.
All venoms target nicotine receptors in the body, and every cell in your body. None of y'all knew this. I didn't know it. I had to learn it in the last year and a half. Every cell in your human body has nicotine receptors in it, including every antibody your body makes, T cells, all of them. They all have little nicotine receptors on them. And when venom hits them, it shuts off their function. So you're immune deficient now. This whole vaccine induced AIDS scenario, I can show you how they're doing it with venom. All they do is destroy your body's ability to make these antibodies, to produce your own immune cells. And every immune cell in your body, all of them, B lymphocytes, you name it, doesn't matter. All of them have nicotine receptors on them. Venom targets the nicotine receptors and shuts them off. And you no longer have an immune system. It's exactly how they created
Wow.
AIDS. Just so you know, Priscilla, does your audience know this? Did you know I've since learned that AZT, the drug for AIDS, for HIV, to try to stop people from converting to AIDS, do you know that AZT is actually made from the venom of a marine sponge creature in the ocean? That's where it came from. So when they would give people AZT to swallow in a pill form, and yes, they can tell you they manufacture venoms to swallow all over the place. Every ACE inhibitor drug for high blood pressure is made from venom from a snake out of Brazil. And it has been for 42 years. You're just swallowing it, and it's a neurotoxin. So it suppresses how your muscles of your arteries and blood vessels, when you get the venom on the muscle, it relaxes it to paralyze it, and that lowers your blood pressure. The only side effect of venom-based drugs of any kind, AZT has every published side effect of AIDS described. That's because you are swallowing venom that destroys your immune system. It's no different here either. It's just a repeat of what they did back in the 80s and 90s.
So am I questioning, now I question the war on nicotine. I mean,
you should, because nicotine is not only in tobacco plants, it's in your potatoes, tomatoes, cauliflower, celery, it's in zucchini, it's in every nightshade vegetable, including eggplants. And none of you knew it until we made the whole world aware of this. But the war on nicotine right now is going on worldwide. England, Canada, America, New Zealand, and Australia. After my Watch the Water documentary dropped, I don't find this ironic. As soon as I dropped that and listed the antidote is nicotine for the whole world to know, once I released that, within 2 months, Priscilla, all 5 of those countries, all of them released publicly to their citizens a new national health campaign before the year 2030. They were all going to remove tobacco products from their entire countries by the year 2030. New Zealand said, we'll do it by 2025. The reason why they're doing this is because nicotine has a 30 times higher binding affinity to the nicotine receptors, so that when you have that in your body, venom can't attach. Viruses can't attach. And it really doesn't matter if you want to call them viruses in the future or venoms. It doesn't matter. They're the same. All viruses bind to alpha-7 nicotine receptors, and so does venoms. So it doesn't matter what you call them. If you put nicotine into the body that's found in plants God put on this earth, that man has figured out how to bastardize tobacco to make it toxic, deadly, and addictive. Nicotine's not addictive on its own. You've all been lied to. Harvard proved that in 2015. We educate people on this all the time. They added a chemical called pyrazines to make it addictive, so you'd keep buying their product.
Yeah.
And then they added arsenic to the paper of the cigarettes in the 70s to create lung cancer in the lungs when you inhale it. And then they blamed it on tobacco and nicotine. This tells you how
I laugh because the good news is, I like to think about the good news here, is the fact that we're getting this information out to the public and saying we do have options and you don't even need a prescription, right? Because the prescription is a barrier to people every single day when they think they need a prescription. Now because I come from the medical industry with my nursing background, I'm not opposed to using medications if it's really needed, but I would be more prone to going natural. And I think most people would. Number one, because it's more readily available. And number two, there's less adverse reactions. So I prefer the healing for the ages, and I'm going to attend. I'm going to be there. I'm excited about, the first night. That is going to be amazing with all of you doing it. It's a Q&A, you said, on the 7th.
Anybody now can register for free for the masterclass and participate on that first night.
Right, so masterclass.
You do not have to be a registered participant or a paid participant. That is all free. You can go there and register for the masterclass right now. For those of you ready to buy tickets, when you're ready, use the promo code GRAITH, GRAITH, and that'll save 10% off of the $99 virtual attendees. The GRAITH promo codes do not apply to people attending. The fees for the attendees, it also includes meals on each day and the events that we're doing. So there's a lot that we're giving these individuals. So that's not included.
They're going to get anybody that's enrolling. They're going to get like some type of documentation saying this is what we're. So they're walking away with something, and that's what I prefer when we advocate for people is what are they walking away with? What are we empowering people to to start tuning into what their body needs. What's their protocol? I hate all these terms like, oh, everybody's got this great protocol. Everybody's an individual. They all have different things that their body's gone through, different vaccines they've had in the past, different medications they've been on. And I really think it's important for us to be specific to the individual, because what me and my neighbor need are two different things. They're two different protocols. So this is going to help people maybe target those areas that they can do for themselves. Is that what your kind of your goal is here?
Absolutely. And let me give your audience an example of why it is. And truthfully, if there are certain emergencies, for sure, I'm okay with using medications. And medications, prescription wise, can be beneficial, I believe, for up to 3 months. After that, they become toxic. So everybody you can use acute issues for acute issues, use medications, but you should be coming off of those. Every single drug is a synthetic, non-natural substance that all are published to eventually create kidney failure and liver failure. Why? These are your two major filtering organs in your body. We're trying to keep you as healthy as possible. And yes, kudos to what the pharmaceutical industry has created in emergency life-saving drugs. But once your life has been saved, you don't need to continue those drugs. You can learn how to manage and improve your health and keep it healthy and sustained all naturally. And I want to give your audience as an example. Do you remember the Chernobyl nuclear power plant explosion? It was probably before I was even born, or maybe right around the time I was born. But everybody knows about Chernobyl. Many documentaries have been produced. This nuclear power plant blew up in the middle of Russia and created massive exposure to toxic ionized radiation to the citizens all around Chernobyl. It is still evacuated. No one's allowed to live on that land. It's still toxic to this day, all warded off for miles around it. Chernobyl explosion happens. The Russian government tries to figure out how scientists can help the citizens around Chernobyl stop the progressive, really quick, rapidly occurring thyroid cancers coming from the exposure of all of them being exposed to the radiation called cesium-137. So Chernobyl scientists are trying to figure out, how do we get all this radiation out of people's bodies to protect them from developing cancers and dying? After months of trying to figure out what was going to work to chelate or detox these individuals, the scientists actually found there was only one thing that would detox 50% of all the ionized radiation in 4 weeks. And then if they repeated it another 4 weeks, it was actually enough of the radiation drawn out. None of those people would develop thyroid cancers or other cancers. Do you know what the substance was? It wasn't a drug, and it wasn't a Chernobyl vaccine. No.
What was it? I need to know. I need to know. What you mean, they didn't give a vaccine out for this?
Yep, there was no vaccine to save these people. There was no drug that would even draw out the poison. They actually published the only thing that worked, and then the Russian government made sure everyone in that area got it, and it worked. It was a substance found in apples, and it's called apple pectin powder.
No.
Yeah. And so that's a natural supplement. I actually put it on my website 3 years ago when they introduced these vaccines, because I was like, oh my God, they have these two chemicals in these vaccines they're publishing. And if it will draw out cesium-137 for Chernobyl victims, it'll draw these chemicals out of them. Polyethylene glycol 2000 in the Pfizer and Moderna shot. And then it's PEG 2000 and mRNA shots. And then anyway, whatever the other chemical was in the Johnson & Johnson shots, it'll absolutely pull those out. Oh, it's polysorbate 80, which actually punches holes in your blood-brain barrier, okay?
Wow.
Which is not a good thing. So I knew it would draw those out, and that's why I actually brought it forward. Did you know that in 2011, there's another nuclear power plant leak in Japan at Fukushima's nuclear power plant? It's still leaking right now. They haven't stopped the leak. Do you know how they're preventing every single person in Japan from developing cancers, thyroid cancers, from the exposure?
Not apple pectin powder.
They did exactly what Chernobyl did, and it worked 100% of the time. They used apple pectin.
So hang on. What you're saying is we should have all been ordering apple pectin for when COVID came out, or people started having these vaccinations.
Absolutely, they should have been. Yes, so the vaccines, for sure, they're chemically laced. We wanted to make sure you could actually have a safe, natural substance, proven to save lives, even with nuclear power plant explosions. There was never a drug that was as successful as a substance in an apple. So remember, an apple a day still keeps the diseases and doctors away. Got it. So these are why these principles are so important, man. We're helping people around the world with our
Yeah.
recommendations. And based on symptomatology, diseases, historical medical information, right? When did your symptoms start? What things preceded that stuff? We know, these 4 doctors at Healing for the Ages, we know exactly what to tell you. For example, anybody in this audience right now, you're going to get documents and graphics. One of my favorite things to educate patients on is what is called referred patterns of pain. Now, most nurses get this training. I don't know if you got it, but most of them got it. Maybe they don't teach them that anymore. But your entire body's skin and the sensory organs that you feel in your skin are connected to every organ in your body. And every organ in your body has a specific area of the skin that it innervates or sends signals of sensation to. And do you know that when one of these organs in your body, any of them, actually becomes stressed or diseased, it will actually send inflammatory signals to your skin so that you feel pain in parts of your body and you don't know where it's coming from? We're going to show you how you will know any symptom coming up in your body when you're like, oh man, my shoulder hurts. Oh man, my elbow hurts. Oh, my right knee hurts. We're going to give you the graphs to actually show you which organs are attached to which of those systems.
Wow.
You're going to go like this, for example. My left knee is swollen. And we're going to show you, you're going to look at this graph that you're going to have now at home, and it's going to tell you sudden pain in the left knee is actually liver pain. And now you know you are liver toxic or stressed. And what should you do? The
Not
basic
take
thing you would
Tylenol.
the most basic thing you're going to do is a liver detox, right? Let's see what can detox the liver.
But hang on, most people would go take Tylenol or Motrin. So the
Yep,
good
they would.
doctor,
And
we're
what does
saying,
Tylenol and Motrin do to the liver? It's toxic to the liver. Why would you do that? Okay, so we're going to teach you this stuff. What about the right shoulder? Let's say somebody's got right shoulder go away or frozen shoulder syndrome. There's lots of people around the country that go to orthopedic surgeons and they don't see anything wrong with the shoulder. Everything structurally looks fine, but these people cannot use their arm, raise their arm to actually wash their hair, fix their hair, or brush their teeth. Every single one of you that have that, all of you have liver gallbladder stress, and you don't know it. And the moment we clear it up, within about a week, all that pain is going to disappear. What happens when you get a heart attack, Priscilla? What part of the body hurts? The left jaw, left shoulder, left arm,
Right.
and it'll be throbbing, killing you, shooting pain. Is there anything wrong with the arm, Priscilla?
no.
What's wrong?
Well, it's the heart.
The heart is stressed. It's
Yeah.
had a heart attack, death of heart muscle tissue, and it's
Signs and
referring
symptoms.
the pain. Yeah. We're going to be teaching people how you can actually look at your tongue and be able to tell every organ in your body that is stressed and any infections you're carrying. You could just stick your tongue out and look and see what's wrong with you. We're going to teach you how to read the eyes and the irises of the eyes. There's something called iridology. You can read the eyes and actually tell which organ is stressed and almost pinpoint what's causing the problem in that organ. Is it
Wow.
infections, heavy metals, toxic chemicals? You don't need to rush with every symptom to an ER, call 911, try to get into a specialist. You don't need that crap. But the majority of us have been conditioned that there's only one place where the people who have the answers for your symptoms reside, and it's behind a white coat somewhere in a clinic or a hospital. And that isn't true.
Right. Right.
It was never true.
We know it's true, and our clients know it's true, because even when they're coming to us and we're advocating for them, and let's say they want to do a AAA, which is an artist review that they can get here, they're coming back to us going, nobody has ever told us this. Nobody's ever explained these things. And so those video reviews that you're doing very personally to people has been really, truly impactful. People are watching those videos over and over because it's personal to them. But this event is going to be able to get to more people all over the globe, which I think is very exciting. I think this is going to be kind of a new start. I hope you're going to do more events too, beyond just one Healing for the Ages, because I already feel like this is going to be such a huge success.
We want this to be an annual conference, and we're going to build on this foundational principles, and then we're going to archive all of our presentations and videos so people who learn about it later can go back and actually purchase and download all of those same things and get all the same materials, because by the time the next year's conference comes, I already tell you what the next one's going to be. It is going to be the top 10 root causes of disease. Okay, that's what we're going to be presenting. And then how to fix it, like what steps you're going to do. And one thing cool about this, Priscilla, for me is how many times have you been to conferences where an individual gets up who we all respect, admire, and have a clinic and have had whatever. How many times have you heard each of these medical professionals get up or health professionals get up and they will give a solution or a protocol or a solution or a protocol, and you hear like 30 of them. When people go home and leave that conference, they don't have a clue who to trust and what to do.
I know,
So
because they call us.
yeah. So what I asked was, will these people please? I asked all three of them, Dr. Janice Schmidt, Dr. Henry Ely, and Dr. Ed Group. I said, will you please all help me create a conference? And then all of us, no matter what we present, we all will stand up on stage at the end of each of our individual presentations and all in unity stand there and say, this is who we are and this is the solutions that we actually all agree on. I want people to see that we're all united and that we're not creating confusion. So we are going to include it in this because we want people walking away. Oh, just so y'all know, everybody here is going to be getting a document outside of what I've already mentioned that is going to be giving you a 14 window instruction following the actual conference. You're going to go home. We'll give you like a week off. 21 days later, every attendee, we're going to be doing a Q&A again to go over what we laid out for you to start the healing process for the next 14 days of your life once you get home. And then we're going to be holding our own follow-up encore to make sure there's no one lost at home. And I don't care how many thousands of people there are. We are going to be making sure you got all the information, and we're going to be giving you step-by-step things to do. Included in that, Dr. Ardis Group, Ely and Schmidt, we're going to actually create a list of like 10 most common symptoms people will struggle with in between conferences. Fevers, cough, respiratory infections, flu, common colds, it doesn't matter. Sprain, strain injuries, diarrhea, constipation. We're going to come up with this list. And the four of us, Ardis Group, Ely and Schmidt, are going to actually be telling you, Ardis will have one recommendation for constipation. Ely will have one. Group will have one. Schmidt will have one. But all four of them are complementary, and we all agree on that. So if you have a fever, these are the four things Dr. Ardis Group, Ely and Schmidt all agree on you should be doing. There's no confusion anymore. You know what you need at home. It's going to be phenomenal. The next conference, the people who attend in person are going to be receiving an emergency kit for their home with all the basic minerals, vitamins, homeopathics that they need at home to have for any situation that we're going to be educating on. It's going to be really quite phenomenal.
This is what Healing for the Ages first aid kit.
That's exactly what it is. Yep. That's what we anticipate in the future. First goal to see, can we create this foundational conference? How difficult is it to create a conference? I've never done one of my own. And oh my God, it is a massive undertaking. Holy cow. All right. So if we can see this is successful, audiences actually agree, they've actually benefited and learned, and we're going to help save lives into the future. Oh my God, this is going to be so fun to see where this goes and how big it can be. It'll be phenomenal.
This is going to be amazing. Well, I know our audience appreciates you. They love you. We hear it every single day with voicemails, texts.
I love them.
The advocates are hearing from them. And so we just appreciate all of the love that you have given each of our clients and our team. It's so important that we bring that unity together and not be so siloed. And I think even the medical doctors that are open to really having these conversations, talking about things like venom-based medications. I think it's a hard topic because oftentimes many of the doctors have prescribed these medications. So they're almost a little bit shaken by this information. And I say that's okay. We just have to be real about how do we really help healing ourselves, because eventually our family and friends are going to be impacted by this. And we really need to be to have a good game plan. So I cannot appreciate everything that you have done, your boldness, even some of the things I've heard from you. I just even had to walk away going, oh my gosh, that is a topic. I have not heard that before. And so I appreciate your transparency and just wanting to help people. I know that from what I see, what you do for our clients here at Graith Care. You're not just somebody out there going to these conferences, speaking. You've actually really helped people here at Graith Care, and I cannot thank you enough. So you've been so supportive.
Yeah. And I do really, truly love the audiences. And I've always, for whatever reason, maybe being an older child of 5 kids, I'm the oldest, right? I have this like overwhelming sense all the time as a big brother protector for all of my human family. It's always been there for some reason, but this is why I went into practice on my own, why I actually would go to people's houses, travel to other countries to see people and patients. This is what I did for 20 years. I loved it. And this is just an extension of that. But I will give one big warning here. If you guys haven't been paying attention to this, I actually have my own radio show now for like the last 6 weeks or so. It occurs on Monday morning and Friday mornings, 11 a.m. Eastern time. It's at America Out Loud Radio Network, and you go to Looking for Healing Radio. Everybody listening to this, I need y'all to pay attention to this. This is a warning for all of you. There is a drug that is now being touted around social media and mainstream media as this wonder drug for weight loss and diabetes. And the drugs are called Ozempic, Ozempic, and a drug called Wegovy, Wegovy. These drugs have only been around less than 5 years. 3 weeks ago, the World Health Organization published articles that pharmacists around the world are reporting that people on these drugs are taking the drug every month and then stopping their prescriptions, 2/3 of them before a year goes by, but they're being told to take it continuously. So 2/3 of all people are stopping it on their own and not actually continuing their prescriptions. That was the first thing. This last week, July 25th of this year, CNN Health reported an article. It's titled "Blockbuster Weight Loss and Diabetes Drug Called Ozempic and Wegovy is Causing People's Stomachs to Be Paralyzed." And they actually discuss 4 individuals around the world, and then they disclose celebrities also that are complaining about this, that if they take this drug, they are finding that when they stop it, because of the symptoms they're having, the side effects, there are people reporting around the world right now that for 1.5 to 2 years after stopping the drug, they are having cyclical vomiting that won't stop. Everything they eat, they throw up. Every time they swallow something, they throw up. Well, I have done presentations now, and I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, your audiences, go back and watch listen to those actual radio shows and share them with your loved ones. I will do my own presentation eventually on my own podcast. Ozempic and Wegovy are called GLP-1 receptor targeting drugs. You don't need to know anything about that. Just know the names, Ozempic and Wegovy. GLP-1 drugs are only made from one singular thing: venom from the Gila monster in the deserts of the United States of America. So this venomous, big, ugly lizard, they take the venom out of that and are injecting it. You are injecting it into yourself, prescribed to you in a vial. You're injecting it inside of you once a week. This is a neurotoxic venom that paralyzes the vagal nerve.
Wow.
When you paralyze the vagal nerve, your stomach can't relax to let the food go into your intestines. So it just sits there and you feel full, so you won't eat any more food. And this is how people are losing weight so fast. They're becoming malnourished. The next time these individuals go to eat and swallow food, when they swallow it, it goes down the esophagus and hits the food already in your stomach. But then as you drink water, it just goes into your esophagus, and that water starts piling up, the food starts piling up, and guess how your body is going to have to release it?
There's the vomiting.
You have to vomit it up.
Yeah.
These venom-based drugs are binding to the vagal nerve, and if you don't get the venom off, you will have lingering symptoms like long hauler COVID symptoms, which are venom spike proteins. Venoms, if you don't get them off the nerves using nicotine or other agents we're going to educate people on, they will stay bound to your cells for up to 10 years.
Wow.
The vaccine industry knows this. This is why they keep us on scheduled vaccines, so they can inject you with a little bit of this all the time to keep you diabetic, to keep you Alzheimer's, to keep you Parkinson's, to keep you whatever. This is what they're doing. So just be warned, any loved ones you have on Ozempic or Wegovy, I have to tell your audiences, if you go to Ozempic on drugs.com, go look at their side effects. The moment you look it up, there's this black box warning at the top. And it says anyone who takes these drugs made from these venoms, they actually publish individuals taking it for 1 year to 3 years, the majority of them will develop multiple thyroid cancers. Remember, I told you earlier in this interview, Dr. Stanley Cohen figured out in 1956, venom in a human does what? It creates cancer through what's called epidermal growth factor, this invisible cancer-causing effect of venoms. This is why you're developing thyroid cancers. Well, it's not just published to do that. It actually causes acute and chronic pancreatitis, acute and chronic kidney failure, acute and chronic liver failure on top of thyroid cancer. So thank God 2/3 of people are stopping it, but they are having horrific side effects ever since.
Well, and they're promoting it. They're promoting it on mainstream news, CNN, and all these mainstream news that are pushing, because they are also sponsored by these big pharmaceutical companies. So there is a huge conflict of interest from my standpoint as an advocate to say, Why are they not talking about natural substances? It's because it doesn't make money for them. So we
Exactly.
have got to really unite. I am so excited about this conference. I'm disgusted by those drugs.
Awful.
And
Everybody needs to be off those drugs.
it's tragic that this is happening, but the reality is I think we're on the winning side. And I want to
Absolutely.
give hope to everybody. If you need an advocate, if you want to call and get working on your needs, call Grave Care. We'll be glad to help you. Dr. Artis does do reviews here and there for when he can afford it in his schedule. He's going to be a little bit on lockdown with the upcoming conference coming up. And I'm excited. This is going to blow people's minds. I'm excited to meet people at the Dallas event too, and all the other special guests. I love some of the doctors. I love Silk that's coming in. We are going to have some fun.
It's going to be awesome. It's going to be very fun. So please come. The whole goal is to try to inspire hope in people around the world that you don't have to be afraid or anxious or panic.
That's right. That's right. Well, we're going to have to do this again, and we might have to have a post conference or maybe a quick video before if there's anything new that's coming out, because it sounds like your wheels are still turning and the research is still coming out, which is good news. We need to educate and empower people. So right here at Grave Care Podcast, we're going to continue to share. Dr. Artis, thank you so much for coming on.
God bless you all. Have a great day.